Syracuse, New York, the capital of dirt track racing. And the 1 mile New York State Fairground Speedway is the site of tonight's 30-lap National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship. Hello once again, everybody. My name is Doug Logan, and joining me is the senior editor of Stock Car Racing magazine, Andy Fusco. Andy, Super Dirt Week here in Syracuse is a multi-race extravaganza, but tonight we zero in on the small block modifieds with some big block names.
And Doug, you've hit that nail right on the head. There are a number of big block superstars interspersed with the 320 regulars here tonight, and make no mistake about it, the 320 regulars do not like the fact that the big block stars step down into their class at the end of the year when the big money is on the line. Tonight's race pays over $60,000, and the drivers in the 320 division who toil for the smaller purses week in and week out during the summer don't like the fact that the big boys come into their territory at the end of the year.
It should be a highly competitive race. Meanwhile, John Snyder is down in the pits, and he's going to talk about nighttime driving on an oval track at 100 miles an hour.
The National Auto Supply Championship for 320 Modifieds has been a regular feature here at Super Dirt Week for several seasons. But for the first time, it's going to be run under the lights, and that makes it different, certainly a lot different. For many of these drivers, it's a new experience. Some of them never run at Syracuse, many of them never run here under the lights. Not so some of the big block drivers like Jimmy Horton, Doug Hoffman, and Brett Hearn, who have rides for tonight's race. The consensus up and down pit road is that the big block drivers will dominate. By the way, if you do make a pit stop, you're not going to win this race. This is a 30-lap sprint right from the go to the end, and we'll be in victory lane. Now, on the pole for tonight's 30-lap National Auto Supply Small Block Championship is Jeff Hetzler. Jeff, what's it like qualifying in the dark?
Well, it's a little strange. Luckily, I had the modified out all day, so I was able to know the track better, and it's definitely strange in the dark.
What kind of strategy do you use in a race like this?
Well, now that I'm on the pole, I'm able to just to go ahead and run my hardest without having to worry about passing anybody, which is the most problems you have here is passing.
Can you see holes or any bad spots on the track at nighttime?
No, you can't. Okay, that's one of the problems. You're not able to see them. I know where they are. Like I said, I've been out all day with the modified, so I know where they are, and hopefully I can avoid them without breaking anything.
Well, you've got a couple of fast guys behind you, and I'm sure they're not going to let you get away with too much.
Well, I'm sure they won't, but I hope for the best, and we're going to run as hard as we can for as long as we can.
That's Jeff Hetzler on the pole for tonight's race. Now let's go back to the booth.
36 cars set to take the green flag for the National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship. And the front row is made up of Jeff Hetzler on the pole and Billy Pouch on the outside.
And Doug, both of those drivers are modified veterans. Hetzler, of course, came up through the 320 ranks. Pouch races 320 modifieds on occasion.
Row 2, the R7 of Brett Hearn and the number 18 of Bud Chrisman. The top 4 qualifiers all within 33 100ths of a second of each other in qualifying speeds. Doug Hoffman and Jimmy Horton make up row 3. Then it's Elvin Felty and Barefoot Bob McCready in row 4. The 5th row, Fritz Eppright and John Strupp. Already we have a problem with Barefoot Bob McCready falling back, and he looks to be all the way in the back of the pack.
It's hard to tell right now what's wrong with McCready's car. He's obviously hasn't lost any power, but he seems to have gone back there voluntarily.
Row 6, Matt Quinn and Lynn Huff. Then in row 7, it's the 43 of Tom Hager and Kurt Van Pelt. Steve Roberts and Randy Riskus make up row number 8. Row 9, Eddie Marshall and Mike Rickey. A white flag being displayed by starter Paul Luft out of Orange County, and there's one lap before we go green. Maynard Ferret and Vinnie Brown in row 10, Billy Schenkel and Paul Lotier in row 11. Row 12 made up of Danny Johnson and Doug Carlisle, and row 13, Lance Young and Kenny Rogers. The field now out of turn 2 and onto the backstretch, and we are half a lap away from going green.
And the important thing to look for here, Doug, is, of course, the start. At Syracuse, it's difficult to pass. Whoever can get the jump off the green flag is going to have a tremendous advantage.
Although this is a highly competitive race, in that last year, 20 cars ended the race on the lead lap. The last 3 years have been wire-to-wire jobs, with Brett Hearn winning last year, Doug Hoffman in 85, and McCready in 84. The green flag is out, and the 1987 National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship is on. And Jeff Hetzler grabs the lead going into turn 1.
And no question about it there, Billy Pouch got caught napping. Hetzler pulled out to an advantage, and Pouch nearly went back to third. Horton almost stuck a wheel underneath there.
Down the back stretch, it's Jeff Hetzler out of Walk Hill, New York, leading the race. Billy Pouch is second. Out of turn 3 and into 4.
And on the back straightaway, Lynn Huff is already in trouble. He's way up against the backstretch wall. He's encountered traffic, and there's a little bit of a jingle up there in turn 3, but everybody gets through okay.
But Chrisman is in third as they head back into turn 1. Jeff Hetzler, the 1980 winner of the National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship, has the lead.
And down at the entrance to pit lane, Lynn Huff is having a very short evening. He's calling it quits.
There's a look at your leaders. Hetzler has about an 8-car length lead currently over Billy Pouch. Again, Chrisman is third. And it looks like the 85 of Jimmy Horton in fourth.
Horton now making a move on Chrisman on the back straightaway. They're side by side. You can see that at the very top of your screen. Horton's going to try to get a wheel underneath going into turn 3. But Chrisman fights him off.
We are now 3 laps complete. Hetzler the leader. Pouch second. Chrisman third. Horton is fourth.
And in 5th place, Doug, that's Brett Hearn in the Foul Rift Sand and Gravel number R7. That car is owned by Bob Hummer. That's the car that Brett Hearn used in the modified division last year. He's currently 5th with it in the 320.
There's a battle for 3 and 4, Chrisman and Horton. Chrisman, strictly a small block runner out of Orange County.
And Chrisman earlier this year could have been considered a protege of Brett Hearn. They were very close. But once Chrisman started racing competitively with Hearn, they didn't start getting along all that well. Now they're more rivals than they are one a protege and the other a mentor.
Hetzler continues to hold down the number 1 slot.
And coming in there, that was Danny Johnson and the Jack Ryan Express number 28. We just saw him briefly on the camera pulling in on the back straightaway. We're 4 laps down, and Danny Johnson's night ends early in the Ryan Express number 28. He's lucky to have made this race. He just qualified for it last week by winning a 100-lapper at Rolling Wheels. You know, Doug, not everybody can come to Syracuse and run in this 320, 358 National Auto Supply Championship. You have to win a qualifying race at one of the participating qualifying tracks.
5 laps down in this 30-lap event. The leader is Jeff Hetzler. In second place, it's Billy Pouch. In third, Bud Chrisman. Fourth place is held down by Jimmy Horton. And in fifth, it's the R7 of Brett Hearn. That's after 5 laps.
And I think the yellow there was for Billy Schenkel, a Pennsylvania driver who really has made his mark in New York State the last couple of years. He slowed dramatically coming off of turn 2, Doug, and pulled his number 714 into the backstretch entrance. The officials didn't think he'd be able to clear the track in time and threw the yellow as a precaution, but Schenkel was able to clear the speedway. His evening, of course, is over. And Doug, another retiree in the pits is Tommy Hager in the number 43. Another modified superstar who stepped down here into the 320s to try to pick up some cash. But Hager in the pits, attrition very high here early.
Well, that's to be expected, isn't it?
Well, it's hard to say. Most of these drivers come to Syracuse with a game plan in mind. This isn't their Saturday night program out there, and they really do prepare the automobiles for the mile.
And for the attrition to be this high this early is a tad unexpected. We only have 5 laps down. There's still 25 laps, 25 miles to go. The green is back out.
Eyes on the field coming out of turn 4. Once again, Jeff Hetzler gets the big jump. Second place, Billy Pouch. Then it's Chrisman. Then it's Horton. And then Brett Hearn. And again, we have a yellow flag displayed. We have Eddie Marshall in the wall. We'll pick it up for you.
And the reason for this yellow is, again, Billy Schenkel. He slowed down here, brought out the yellow. He must have had some problems with Eddie Marshall, because we see Eddie Marshall up in the wall, up in turn 4.
And it looks like he gave it a solid tap.
Now, Eddie Marshall has 2 cars. His white car is a 320 modified. He also has a silver car, number 98, that he competes in the modified division. Both the cars race at the Lebanon Valley Speedway, and earlier this year, he gave his white number 98, his 320 ride, to Jack Johnson, so Jack Johnson could attempt to qualify this race for this race in a couple of shows, including at Cayuga County Fairgrounds.
Eddie out of Pound Ridge, New York. We have run 6 laps. All laps must be run under the green.
Schenkel there on your screen pulling in, calling it an evening. He's been involved in 2 encounters already, and this race is only 6 miles old. And there on our screen, Doug, we can see Tommy Hager back out on the track in his number 43. Hager made a pit stop, made the corrections. He's back out on the race surface. And incidentally, Bob McCready has returned to the race surface. He dropped back early in the event. Hopefully whatever was wrong with his automobile has now been cured. And the Syracuse frame number 9 could make a charge from the back. 5 years ago in this event, McCready did just that. Started way back in the pack and came up and nearly won the National Auto 320 Championship.
Now the cars accelerate out of turn 4, and the green flag is back out, and once again Jeff Hetzler puts the hammer down and grabs that lead. But now we have in third place Jimmy Horton, who is blown by Bud Chrisman. And Horton is putting a move on second place. And Billy Pouch. Hetzler continues to lead down the backstretch. Pouch is second, but Jimmy Horton looks like he is anxious.
And Horton's working well on the bottom of the racetrack. He challenged Chrisman early in the event on the bottom of the racetrack. He just passed Chrisman on the bottom of the racetrack, and he nearly stuck a wheel underneath Pouch in turn 3 and in turn 1. Horton's the man on the move right now, Doug.
Maintaining the advantage, though, is the J17 of Jeff Hetzler. 1985 Mr. Dirt for 320s.
And that was when he was running the Accord Speedway, or what is now called Fastland USA, in the Hudson Valley just north of Middletown. He's since moved on to the Big Block Modified division. He runs a Pabst-sponsored number 74 in the Big Block Modifieds. He still keeps this By-Right oil-sponsored number 17 for selected big money, small block events.
Completing lap number 10, it's Hetzler, then it's Pouch, then it's Horton. Then we have Brett Hearn and Bud Chrisman, the top 5.
And one of the things you can see there dramatically on the screen, Doug, is just how difficult it is for these drivers racing at night at Syracuse. The first turn of Syracuse is probably the poorest lit place in the racetrack. The front straightaway is probably the best lit place of the racetrack. Going from the front straightaway to the first turn at Syracuse is a little like walking into a dark bedroom from a lighted hallway. Very, very difficult.
Your 4 lead cars right now dipping low into turn 1. Hetzler again leads.
And all I can guess is that Bud Chrisman may have a tire problem. He's losing positions pretty quickly. Hearn has now gotten underneath him in the R7, and Hearn is closed in so that we have a 4-car battle for the lead. Chrisman's in 5th right now, but he's being challenged for that position.
Top 4 cars within about a second and a half of each other as they come around for the conclusion of lap number 12.
And one of the interesting things that we see on the screen is there's a tremendous hole on the inside of turn 3. Brett Hearn drove so low just that last lap to try to get beneath the hole that he hit the inside guardrail on turn 3.
Still at speed, looking to be none the worse for wear. That is the interval between 1 and 2 that you're looking at.
And you've got to be impressed with Hetzler, Doug. He time trialed at about 32.5 seconds and has been able to keep that pace throughout this race already. Usually drivers time trial much more quickly than they run during the event, but Hetzler's been able to keep the pace, and that's right now the advantage that he has over Billy Pauch. That plus the fact that he's been able to get away so quickly on the restarts.
We'll pick up the leaders as they come around and tell you that the first 4 cars are all within 1.8 seconds of each other. That's how close this race is through 14 laps.
And Chrisman is now a distant 5th place. He's being challenged by Hoffman. But Hoffman in the 125 can't seem to get the advantage. There's the battle for the lead. Hetzler up front, Pauch is second, right on his doorstep.
Barefoot Bob McCready is making a move on the race course. There's a look at Bud Chrisman, who was in the running in the early going and now is falling back just a bit.
And right behind him, you can see the number 125 of Doug Hoffman from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Battle for position in turn 3. We'll pick up the leaders. On the front straightaway, there's Hetzler. Pauch is second.
And Doug, already there's only 17 laps down in this race. It's just about the halfway part, and already these cars are encountering lap traffic. Hetzler working the back straightaway, heavily in lap traffic. Right now he's up. There's Hetzler passing the number 23 of Laurent Ladouceur, a Can-Am driver, Can-Am from Fargersville, New York. Ladouceur, one of the Canadian regulars who comes to Can-Am every Saturday night.
Horton made a beautiful move in turn 1 and cut off Brett Hearn in traffic and put some space between he and the defending champion for 3rd place. Meanwhile, Pauch is now right on the back bumper of Jeff Hetzler as they come into turn 4. You see it there.
And Pauch is using traffic to his advantage. Hetzler's been able to open up a bit of an advantage whenever they hit the clear parts of the racetrack, but in traffic, Billy Pauch is definitely the faster of the 2 cars.
19 laps complete, and Hetzler continues to lead. Mike Rickey has just retired from the race. Mike in the number 406 exits. Hetzler and Pauch, 1-2 basically throughout, continue that. And there's some daylight between Pauch in the number 2 position and Jimmy Horton in 3rd.
And attrition continues to be a problem here now, Doug. Rich Rickey in the 406 just pulled out of the action.
Hetzler and Pauch, 1 and 2. In 3rd, it's Jimmy Horton. At 20 laps in 4th place, it's Brett Hearn. And in 5th place, it's the 125 of Doug Hoffman, the 1985 National Auto Supply winner.
And that 3rd turn hold that we talked about could play an important role in this race. Both of the lead 2 drivers negotiate that hold differently. Hetzler goes high to try to drive around it. Pauch drives low to try to go under it. Something important could happen in turn 3 before this race is history.
There they are, out of turn 3, into the 4th turn, and then in front of this giant grandstand here at the New York State Fairgrounds. And in traffic, these fellas have their hands full for sure, but they pull out 1-2 ahead of 2 lap cars. And there's nothing that's going to separate Pauch from Hetzler.
And those 2 lap cars are John Strupp in the 24, Middletown regular, 2nd generation driver. His father was Sonny Strupp. Also Bob Sitterly, Fonda's 320 kingpin this year.
The first 4 positions very clearly defined as we now conclude lap 23. Hetzler and Pauch. Then it is Horton and Brett Hearn. Also a solid 5th at this point, Doug Hoffman.
And really, Doug, our battle is up front. Pouch has been able to open up a sizable advantage. I'd estimate it to be 30 or 35 car lengths over Horton. The battle is right up front. The front 2 cars right there on your screen. And
you see it once again with some slower traffic, but Jeff Hetzler has been navigating well into turn 1. A little bit tight, had to go too deep, but Hetzler finally got around the slower car and cut off Billy Pouch. So Pouch loses some ground.
And that lap car is Lance Young, a regular from Dundee Woodhall circuit. Lance Young really coming into his own this year, won several features on the Dundee Woodhall circuit. But right now he goes a lap down to the leaders with 6 laps to go in this event.
A look at Jimmy Horton out of Folsom, New Jersey. He won his qualifier at Nazareth. He is currently in 3rd spot. And now we are 25 laps down, and there's really no change among the top 5 drivers. Hetzler and Pouch, then Horton, Brett Hearn, and Doug Hoffman.
Hetzler and Pouch going by Vinnie Brown there in the number 76. Brown, a Flemington regular. He won a race there this year under the dirt sanction. The story of this race is sizing up to beat traffic. Hetzler seems to have the advantage whenever the 2 cars are out in the open, but when they get in traffic, it seems like Billy Pouch is able to negotiate the lap traffic a little bit better. Lap cars could be the story of this event in the last 4 laps.
Well, there's perhaps only one more that could come into play right about now, as into turn 3, between 3 and 4, then into turn 4, and look at Billy Pouch put the move on. Almost 3 abreast. Look at that action.
I think that's contact, Doug. I think Billy Pouch tried putting himself where there wasn't an opening, and I think they came
and we have a pass as Hetzler starts to smoke. Billy Pouch has taken over the lead in turn 1. Hetzler slowing on the race course, and Billy Pouch has the lead on lap 28.
If we can hazard a guess, it looked like a blowing motor on Hetzler's car. There was a telltale puff of blue smoke, usually the sign of some type of motor problem. He's slowing there nearly to a stop now down on the backstretch.
And we have 2 laps to go, and Billy Pouch has taken the lead. Pouch is in first, followed by Jimmy Horton. And then it's Brett Hearn.
Pouch has about a 15 to 17 car length advantage over Horton. It's going to be interesting to see if Hetzler is able to limp into the pits. If not, we could have a yellow flag with 1 to go.
And we do have a yellow flag. A yellow flag on the race course. Andy, you called it correctly, and it is given to the leader of this event, Billy Pouch. And we have 29 laps complete.
Real tough break for Jeff Hetzler. Jeff Hetzler impressed a lot of people this year at Lebanon Valley Speedway. He won an $8,000 race. The Lebanon Valley Mr. Dirt Track USA did that in his Pabst-sponsored number 74 big block car. There he is, of course, being helped along by the push truck on the cinder track on the back straightaway. He really had this race in the bag, but for the bad break of motor troubles, which has caused him to retire.
From turn 4, when Pouch tried to put his car where there was no spot, to turn 1, when Hetzler smoked and finally fell out and Pouch took the lead, we had a race full of excitement.
It just shows you how the complexion of auto racing can change in the blink of an eye. Literally over a 200 or 300 yard span, the entire complexion of this race changed dramatically.
Doug Hoffman is currently holding down 4th spot.
All we can guess with Bud Chrisman is that he must have guessed wrong on tires. Tire selection very, very important, especially in a night race, because the track will change more dramatically at night than it will at daytime often. You'll be able to get sometimes more of a bite at night, whereas in daytime racing, the track will go away more. Perhaps Chrisman guessed wrong on tires. Doesn't seem to be any other explanation.
Another car being pushed in. The 24 of John Strupp. That is not Strupp.
No, Doug, I believe that's Rick Wilson. He's a regular at the Can-Am Speedway up in Lafargeville, New York. Wilson came to a stop outside of turn 4 at the same time Hetzler came to a stop down the back straightaway. Both of them required the yellow flag.
An all-out sprint as Pouch, Horton, Hearn, and Hoffman, the top 4 cars, dive into turn 1, and continuing to lead is Pouch. Trying to work on the inside, there is Horton, but Pouch has the advantage. Hearn is third.
There's only a half lap to go here, Doug.
Pouch continues to hang on to about a 2-car length advantage into turn 3, looking smooth, dipping down low into turn 4, and he is set to take the checkered flag. Paul Luff from Orange County waves it, and the winner is Billy Pouch, winning the 1987 National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship. Horton looked to be second, Hearn third, Hoffman fourth, and finishing fifth, the 18 of Bud Chrisman.
And that's Pouch's 33rd win of the year in 1987 in modified competition, combining both his small block and his big block wins. That car is owned and sponsored by the Keystone Pretzel Company. Keystone Pretzel bought out this year by 7-Eleven stores, and 7-Eleven may become involved in dirt track racing next year.
A very exciting race. A race which saw Billy Pouch grab the lead at the conclusion of lap 27 and into lap 28. A very jubilant pit crew getting set to greet the winner of this race, Billy Pouch, who qualified second, and the veteran out of Stockton, New Jersey, qualified at Penn National, and now he's taking home the big prize. The winner's share is $5,000 plus a 1987 Z24 Cavalier Coupe.
Now, one of the interesting things in this race, at least for me, Doug, Horton was second, Hearn ended up third, and viewers might have noticed it. On the last lap, Horton and Hearn went into turn 1 side by side. There's been some controversy involving those two drivers for the last several weeks. At Lebanon Valley a couple of weeks ago, there was an incident where Hearn and Horton came together at the end of a 200-lap race. It involved a great deal of controversy. Horton ended up being fined. A lot of things have occurred between the two parties since, and there was almost a chance for sort of a revival of that here on the last lap of this Syracuse event. But Hearn let discretion be the better part of valor and backed out of it there in turn 1, and satisfied with third place.
You see Horton and Hearn, but now coming into your picture, there's the 126 of Billy Pouch, the winner of the 1987 National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship. And look at that, he is being besieged down there. A very, very happy driver, Billy Pouch. A lot of folks down there clapping their hands and wanting to get a piece of the action down there. Meanwhile, we're going to go down to John Snyder in Victory Lane.
For 28 laps, I believe, and still Hensler broke, and we don't know what the problem was on the G17. But possibly we might be able to get a runner over there and get a report on that. Okay, let's go down trackside.
Billy Pouch, you have a brand new car for 30-lap win here at the National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship.
Yeah, this thing ain't working, is it? No, this isn't a brand new car. This one we campaigned all season at Penn National on Sundays, and I don't know what to say. I'm just happy we won. I'm
talking about that car behind you, that brand new that you're going to drive home.
Oh, I forgot you get a car with this deal. This is all new to me. We're happy we won.
Billy, is it hard to drive here at nighttime?
Yeah, it was difficult with the holes. It was hard to see the holes and stuff. Getting into 3 there was a bad one, and there was one coming out of 2 that was a little tough. Jeff was right there. We were about dead even, and I thought lap traffic would determine it, but I guess his motor must have went sour or something, because he slowed coming down the front stretch, and I went in on the outside, and I said, something ain't right here.
Okay, Billy, thank you very much. The winner of the National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship, second place in the National Auto Supply 320 modified race. Jimmy, how was it out there?
Good racing. We're a little bit underpowered, but the car was working real well. We just needed a couple shots, and the lap cars were slowing us down more than we wanted to be. And with that last caution there, I thought I had a shot at Billy, and I gave it all we had, and we come out second. I'm happy with that. It's just
Jimmy,
a trick finish.
everybody said that you like to run here at night. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, I like this place at night. If they can have the Sundays race at night, I'd love it.
Okay, Jimmy Horton finishing second in the National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship here at the Moody Mile at Syracuse. Brett Hearn, you and Jimmy Horton and Billy Pouch put on quite a battle out there the last couple of laps.
Yeah, that last lap restart was a little bit crazy, but just one of those nights we missed the setup a little bit. It's the driver's responsibility to tell the crew how tight or how loose the car's got to be, and we just missed this one just a little bit. And that made the difference. The car's a little bit tight in the middle of the corner, and when you lose ground here in the corner, you're in trouble.
Brett, once again, the big block modified drivers dominated this race. What do you think about you guys running against the small block racers?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I don't think it's really that fair, but unfortunately, me, Jimmy, and Billy, we all do it for a living, so we got to get every chance we can get to get in the race car. We have to do it. And because we have more experience than some of the other drivers, it usually turns out that we end up in the front.
Okay, Brett Hearn finishing third in the National Auto Supply National 320 Modified Championship. Now back up to the booth.
Well, the last 3 years, the winner of this race has gone wire to wire. Tonight, Jeff Hetzler led through the first 27 laps, but taking the lead in the 28th lap, Billy Pouch, and he's the big winner.
And, of course, Doug, at the beginning of the show, we developed the story of the rivalry between the modified regulars and the 320 regulars. This win won't do anything to soothe that rivalry. Billy Pouch, of course, one of the biggest names in all of big block modified racing. But make no mistake about it, this is a very, very important win for Billy Pouch. You'll remember on the broadcast last year, he wondered out loud whether he could ever conquer Syracuse. Well, now he's done it, and he's done it in fine style.
Fifth place finisher in this National Auto Supply 320, Bud Chrisman. Finishing fourth, Doug Hoffman. Third place goes to Brett Hearn. In second, Jimmy Horton. And the winner of the 1987 National Auto Supply 320 Modified Championship, our congratulations go out to Billy Pouch.